Standing and saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Notice, Robin, we split you two up so that you can't.
You can't get fired.
Yeah.
I'll be the go-between. Ask me your notes, Robin.
And just like any other middleman, she's gonna take 10% and mess 12% and mess it up.
Kind of pre-COVID, Charles.
Good afternoon, everybody. Has everybody read the minutes?
Yes. I was there. Make a motion to approve? Yeah, I'll second it.
Let's let everybody finish reading.
Sorry,
But that's okay. That's the idea.
Read them ahead of time?
Is everybody done reading the minutes? Got a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
I feel like he might be testing us. Did we miss something?
I said there was a motion and a second.
There was.
All those in favor of the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the minutes carried. Public comment? Yes, I got it. Nope, there's no public comment. Moving on to number 4. Recent changes to the NERC's program projects, or commonly called the spending plan. Are there any comments on that?
Oops. I think the only thing, and maybe it's just a hidden row, but like for Chessie 2, it's under construction, but we still have that railroad issue, and then we've got our new DES number, but it's hard to see what's going on there right now, the way that it's laid out, but I think we can work through that.
So the railroad portion is in 2026?
Well, yes.
Is that moving on? Move it around, move it forward if we needed to. I and LaPorte need to have a discussion about your projects because trying to pair things up and get them funded.
Yep.
as we discussed at the quarterly meeting.
Yep.
So.
Good.
Anything else? Okay, 4B, additional FY 2024 funds. Okay, as I mentioned earlier today, not to sound like a government informant, but there may or may not be additional FY 24 funds. It may or may not be to the tune of $667,000. They may or may not be expiring on September 25th. And it may or may not expire until 2024. So we'll wind that back. You know, with highway funds, if we don't use them, we lose them, correct? Everybody's aware of that?
Correct.
Several MPOs and several state DOTs did not use their full allotment in 2023. So when you don't use it, the federal highway takes that money back and uses it use it wherever they want it, they see fit, or they offer it to other DOTs, I guess I should say. NERC's or NDOT's portion was like $310 million, and then NERC's portion for Group 2 is $666,667. So I found this out last week. So this is unfolding as we go along. We may or may not have this amount of money, and I don't know when it expires. It could expire at the end of 24. It could expire at the end of federal fiscal year 23, which is September 30th. So your right away, your CE for your Chessie 2, I think you're waiting.
Yes.
That is in there.
Perfect. And I did get confirmation from Brianne that for CE work expended, it's still reimbursable even if the money is added after the work is.
If we have a PO open for CE, then we can reimburse.
Correct. Yeah.
For work
expended before the additional money was added.
Okay. So right now we can go up to like 70,000-ish.
Okay.
So, and that's what we had before this extra money may or may not have came about.
Okay.
So if this extra money comes about, then we can cover it all, but I can definitely move some. We have 50,000 set aside for change orders, and then another 20,000 for extra. So we could get it up to 70,000, but that's as far as I can go as of now.
And we're actually doing really well on budget. We're having significant utility delays, but not so our CE costs are going to hit their mark, but our construction is going to be, on point too. So we're not, time is extended, which means we're using all that money, but costs have not been extended yet. So.
Okay.
So, we spoke yesterday. I said, I could bring a project to you. When you introduced this topic yesterday to me. So how are we gonna hold off until you know definitely what?
Yes, we could throw that in.
It's a comp plan update, like I mentioned. I got a budget 20.
Right.
For 80%.
That kind of falls into the topic of a new project. So
yeah, I know.
So we'd have to just
share a DES number.
But it's
just
it would kind of depend on if it lasts till if it's fiscal 24.
Right.
Then it'd be a fine.
Right. So if basically if it expires in September,
yeah,
really the only place I could throw that money is on a project that already has a PO,
right,
or a project that I could flex it to transit if I know you need buses. But, or a project that the PE or right-of-way is already started and you've already done the RFP for that and you're just waiting on the LPA contract to be signed or approved, I should say, by NDOT. And that's like 6 weeks away. So that's not a whole lot of time.
Now, I was gonna bring up, we talked in the quarterly meeting, we have other things we needed money for, and we never really moved forward our, there's number 1902008, various pavement, which is 425 total, 340 federal in 24. So we needed the 142, 83440 for Chessie CE. And then we also were looking to do a change order for emergency vehicle preemption in order to get more units in vehicles and get more agencies on the system. So I don't have the final
Are those
numbers for that.
agencies in the original scope of work?
I don't know if we list specific agencies or do we just list
We gotta be careful
emergency
with the scope.
services?
You gotta be- I mean, our scope can increase,
Okay,
but we can add, you know, more for police cars in LaPorte, but
Yeah.
if you didn't list other agencies, then I'm not sure if we could include those other agencies.
okay. I'll go back and check.
Yeah,
So for, when do you think you anticipate finding out about the, whether it be fiscal year 23 or?
so I found out about this money on the 8th.
Yeah.
And kind of in a roundabout way, and then I got the unofficial email that says there may or may not be money, and it may or may not be this amount of money, and it may or may not be due. So, and then I heard I got a subsequent email, but I haven't heard anything on that. So it should be coming, I would say, any day,
Oh, okay.
only because if I have to use it by September 25th,
Right.
in a PO, time is ticking, so.
Well, I guess my question would be then if you found out it's 24, then this project will be applicable then.
Correct.
Well, and that's why I was kind of offering up the various pavement project because that money is good until the end of 24.
Right, but we don't wanna
Which
wait
would
till
give-
May, you can't do this.
No, yeah, no, but it would, if we could figure out a way to add a project, it would give them time to get there.
Well, I guess we can talk about that in a little bit, but if we did something, they would have plenty of time to go through the whole process.
Yeah.
So.
But if that money, if the, whatever, 700 is available, then
Right.
the
But we also-
300 I was hoping to break up between those two, the CE,
Mhm.
or construction inspection and additional radios if we can. I mean, if there's money available now to do that, then there
Right,
may be money for the county to do their project.
and we may also need to, if there's buses that are needed, and I think there are, we may need to
Yeah,
get a
and
bus
I
or
think
something.
The cost of buses has been a
Well,
challenge.
and the other concern is, from Frank, is that our in-house hydraulic lift, to be able to lift them to do maintenance on, is struggling as it is, and they've now added 9-inch lift is going to support the weight of a new bus. So I may be looking to get a new hydraulic lift put in if I could use some of the,
Right, so we'd have to create a new project for that.
right,
So that's something that's something that, I mean, which we should be thinking about putting in for at the NOFA in addition to additional buses.
Right.
But we also learned other avenues last week in our fact-finding missions on how to assist you. We've learned other options that I don't think we as in collectively, you or Robin or NERC knew about.
Okay.
So.
And we're going to be gonna find out these other options?
So, we'll put that, I'll tell you what, I'll put that at the bottom
Okay.
and kind of go over it. And, yeah. Yes,
I got ideas how to use money.
so, yeah, I'd much rather not do a new project. I'd much rather make old or other projects whole.
Can we move,
What's that?
can we move up transit on non-revenue vehicles?
Yeah, we can. We can do
But
that.
I mean, September is too short because they're shutting down trams as well. So I won't be able to get anything in.
Well, if I move that,
deadline.
if I flex that money over,
Uh-huh.
you wouldn't get it till January or February. Because it takes that long to work its way through the system
Okay.
to be transferred over.
That,
So-
I can work with that. I can't do anything by September.
But we'd have to do it, like I said, if we flex that money over,
Mhm.
then that money would be taken care of right away. You'd have that money in your account, just kind of like if you deposit a large check in your checking account. You know, they'll put like a 2-day hold on it or 3-day hold on it. So that's kind of along the same lines. It'll be in your account, but you can't touch it until like January, which would be time for the new grants anyway. So. Obviously, I'll keep everyone posted as,
Because like I said, if you can stretch it out to fiscal '24, then there's no problem at a new project at that point, right?
yeah, it's not a problem.
If it's needed, if quick action is needed, can we, as a group, approve an electronic vote on anything we need to regarding those funds?
So you need funds for the Chessie 2, and that's what, 50,000?
142.
Oh, close. Right, I was writing them. So close.
No, it was we only, were funded 50 originally, even though it was a $241,000 contract.
Let's see, this is in here. Yeah.
The other thing, and we wouldn't be able to use this money, but we've been using our PE from the previous Chessie 2 for the railroad work, because our contract included that, but then split it out into a separate DES number, but we never put any money in PE, because we were using the previous DES in the
Right.
previous contract. And it sounds like last time talking to Marcia, we probably need to put money in PE and stop using that contract.
Yeah, because we actually did it backwards. Instead of splitting that out, we should have split the trail out of
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
done it that way.
Yeah.
So instead of splitting the later, you have to split out earlier phases and not later phases.
Yeah. Right.
So, yeah, so the trail should have had a new DES number and not,
Yeah, because I know they want to shut down the PE portion and I think we may actually have pretty much expended the funds anyway, but, we would need to add some PE to that 1900831.
Right.
Um, 1601-869, which is phase 3 PE, all phases. Phase 3B has already been constructed.
Right.
Once NDAT gives us the final sign off, the PO is going to be closed, but the PE is not done for the other segments. So we're gonna be 72,000 short in fulfilling the contract.
So I have 250,000 already set aside for phase 3D allocated. That's in
Oh,
2024.
for PE, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that'll work, that'll finish it out.
And then there's 474,000 for right of way for that.
All right,
So you could probably request those anytime.
so in this case, do I have to wait for the initial PEPO to close out before I can request another PEPO for phase 3D? Or can I
Oh.
request that now?
That would be a Marcy or Brianne question.
Okay, so,
But you might have to wait till it closes out.
that's what I thought.
Unless the money was
All right,
allocated
I'll
in
ask
the previous
Marcy.
fiscal year.
What DES number was that PEPO associated with?
1601-869.
So you'd be putting the PE on 2101148.
Correct.
So you might be okay there.
The other, point I wanted to make is you're still showing 12400 in the Amtrak crossing, 1802785. You can pull all funds from that, we're not gonna pursue it. We're preparing to, terminate our license agreement with them and walk away.
Just walk over the track.
What's that?
Just everybody walk at their own,
That's what they're doing
discretion,
now.
you know?
I mean, they owed us design and construction costs by August 31st of 2017. We've still got nothing from them, and we paid for it. So our city's in 140,000 plus in design services, insurance premiums we had to pay, a license agreement for 6 years for property we couldn't use. So May 26th, they were gonna send everything, and then July 17th, they were gonna send anything. We're just done. We're like, no, the money's already been pulled. You know,
It's
the
just,
ST 103 money is gone. We're just walking away. It's
just,
too much
and
time.
assume that
What's that?
you might need to request your money back.
We're going to request it. I don't believe that they're gonna do anything. They won't. They'll end up throwing something at us called design and say, well, here's what your money bought. So what they sent me in April as the detailed drawings, specifications, was a PowerPoint slide presentation of an existing crossing in Illinois.
That was a joke.
No, it was not a joke. That's what they sent us.
No, I'm just saying,
Oh, yes, it was a joke. So, and then they contacted Congressman Mervan saying that they had delivered the product that they were contracted to deliver.
How much money you out the city? What did you say? How
What
much?
are we out? 142 and some
and
change.
she shared it with me, and literally, how old are your kids?
2, 10.
Okay, literally, the only ones that would use this contraption would be your kids. Because as you're waiting for the train, they would run around in circles and go through this gate all the time. Really, if there's a sidewalk, okay? And then you got your signal, and then there was a
Trap, cow trap.
to go around it, and you didn't have to go through it.
Yeah.
You would just be inclined to go straight forward over the tracks, like no one's gonna use this.
Like I said, the only way his kids would be using it because they'd be going circles,
Yeah, right.
running around and around and around.
She can only go one way, cause the gate only swings one. I'm like, what is this?
But you yeah. So they could only go one way.
So they,
Heard a cat.
So if you get caught there, you have to go through the drain.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly. Your
but
only
you
way
didn't have
out
to,
is-
you didn't have to go through there. You really didn't have to go through there.
straight.
Yeah, you just bypass the whole tomfoolery and just go
I
through it.
wish I would have brought the photo. I mean, it's just astounding that they designed and built this anywhere.
It's not on here.
Is it Illinois?
We already took it off.
Okay, I was wondering, I didn't see it.
Yeah,
But
we already,
again, so they told Congress that they delivered the drawing specifications, and so I sent them, if these are drawings and specifications, I'm in the wrong profession, because this is a PowerPoint slide presentation of photographs.
right, I think I have it saved in here.
We're all good in our,
So anyway, yeah, we took that off.
we're all good in our partnership, right?
Yes.
With the bridge. And,
So my issue right now is I need to sign a supplementary agreement with Butler Fairman for that
Okay.
project, but I don't have a match right now, so I'm trying to get that.
Well, when you won our match, well, we approved everything.
Okay, so I think it was like back in 2015 or 16, the controller failed to encumber some of our match money for the trails.
See if they back the council and then get it reapproved.
Yes,
So-
in an election year, which is never good.
And you want to approve this, you take the letter, the meeting minutes, and you approved this already, just let you know. That's the only way you get to do that.
So I have a meeting next week with, I think Mitch will be on it, maybe you, Butler Fairman, to just hammer out the final details to clean that up and get the agreement signed and find the extra money.
Okay. Moving on to new business. Local quarterly meetings update. Really, there were no surprises, so there's no updates. Like I said, we did move some funds, and then we need to talk with LaPorte and go over you guys' projects a little bit in detail and go over those. So maybe we set up, after this meeting, we set up a time to go over those in a meeting, whether in person or virtual. So, there is going to be a NOFA improvement meeting, so we're gonna work on redoing the NOFA. And that is September 13th.
13?
I did the 6th, but then I found out there was a conflict.
I will be out of town.
Same time then.
Same time. If you wanna go through if you have your old NOFA and you wanna go through it and send me comments, I'll make sure they get mentioned.
Didn't we update it last year?
Well, we update it every year, but we're talking about
It seemed like we did a lot of amendments last year. That might have been. a couple
amendments.
years ago. Not amendments, but we made a lot of changes to it.
Improvements? They call improvements.
To the application.
I thought that was last year.
We've been doing improvements all along. I don't think we did as many last year as we did 2 years
Maybe it
ago.
was 2 years.
But there's been some, I'm just gonna look at it and see if everybody's getting all the points for a question, then I guess, do we really need that question?
Right.
Or if, same token, if nobody is getting any points for that question, then do we really need that question? So, at least through group one, there's been some requests to look at it, take it in depth. That'll be a big meeting. A lot of people will be there. And then thank you.
You wanna yell?
Don't need to speak over it. There will be a lot of people there, so, and then probably what I'm imagining is after that meeting will probably last an hour, hour and a half, and then from there we'll have a couple smaller group meetings. Anybody that wants to continue, and then we'll come back like in January or maybe February and have another large meeting and bring back what everybody worked on. Bless you.
Thank you.
So that's what I'm kind of envisioning for that. If But I'm kind of leaving that up to evolve the way the group wants it to evolve. So if anybody has any comments, so the transit operators will probably working on their own at the round table or something like that.
So we should attend.
I don't know, Stephen and I'll have to talk about that. Figure out, because it doesn't make sense for you to throw in preventive maintenance or operating assistance, because you would get that anyway, operating assistance, I should say. But if there's something else, then you should be putting in a NOFA application, whether that's a new lift for your garage, a new bus, that should be going into the NOFA. Just operating assistance.
Capital type things.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
preventive maintenance, we're not gonna have enough for it. It's like we'll
just let me know. You need that.
always,
Well, I mean, no, actually, you only get enough for your operating, right?
right.
So if you want preventive maintenance, then you would need to submit submit a NOFA application for.
What's the deadline going to be on this NOFA for submission?
Well, it's gonna be the 13th, and from the 13th, those who want to keep coming, then we'll do a smaller meeting, a working group, and then we'll come back in January and meet as a larger group again to kind of go over what the smaller group came up with.
But that's just for the application, correct?
That's just for the application.
But when are they going to be due next year?
Oh, it'd be in the fall.
Fall, okay.
So the month of September is usually when they go out. And then due sometime in October, or the end of October at the latest. That gives us 2 or 3 months to go through all of the applications and everybody to discuss them, go over them, and you to defend them if there's any questions on them, or answer any questions, I should say. And then before the February TPC meeting. So it's usually in the fall.
Yeah. You won't know the funding level for a while on those.
Well, I know what the funding level is because
Right.
we're just looking at what we have, and I'm just gonna carry
The new
those.
NOFA, I mean, yeah. For the new applications in the fall.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna match, I mean, right
Big
now,
cost.
there's only one project, I think, in 28.
Mhm.
So, yeah. I also, this fall, am going to put out a small NOFA for protect funds. So basically, if there is a roadway that overtops because of an undersized culvert or something like that, that would be eligible for protect funds. Anything that would make our infrastructure more resilient to climate change, that's what those protect funds are for. It's not a large amount of money. $80,000. So, but you could split that up and do like PE on it and then get STBG funds later on or something like that. So we are gonna have something this fall for protect funds.
That's when the application opens, it's fall.
Yeah. And there'll be more about it at the 13th, so.
We have a sub-recipient meeting on the 20th of September, which is the following Wednesday. Could we do a transit NOFA then, since 90% of us are gonna be there?
Well, if NOFA for,
Like you were saying, if we should be there or not on the 13th, and you were saying that we should do a transit
so
one.
we're not, all they're gonna be doing is looking at rewriting the NOFA, correcting, adding questions or subtracting questions that may or may not apply, so to speak.
Okay.
So our NOFA won't happen until next year,
Okay.
and that'll be for 28, 29, and 30. So, but if you're in the NOFA and a project falls through, then we can always slide it forward. So that's something to keep in mind. So the only NOFA we'll have this year will be for the protect funds, and that was only because no one submitted any projects for it. So, and we got that $75,000, $80,000 that we used elsewhere, but we need to show that we're using it somewhere in our program for resiliency.
And it has to be like roadway overtopping or something like very specific, or?
Roadway resilience.
Okay.
So there's a bridge that's not big enough. Granted, it's only 75,000, so, roadway overtopping, it's something small.
What about just street flooding?
Street flooding works. If you want, I can send you
A
the,
little different than a waterway coming over.
Right over here.
if you want, I can send you the fact sheet, or you can go to, just type in FHWA PROTECT, protect, and it'll take you to the fact sheet.
Okay.
And you can find out examples or more detail from federal highway what protect funds can be used for.
And that's 80/20.
That's 80/20. But, moving on to the next one, the Transportation Resilience Improvement Plan,
We're tripping. NERC's tripping. That's awesome.
So we also, NERC has to write a trip. So I added the N on it for tripping. That's,
Very clever.
and that has to go into the STRIP, which is the statewide Transportation Resilience Improvement Plan.
So we're tripping and stripping in Indiana. We've come so far.
So if this project is in the tripping, then you can get additional 3.5%. It doesn't make that $75,000 increase, but being we don't have a whole lot of projects in there, that does help. And so instead of 80% or coming up with 20%, you only got to come up with 16.5%.
When is the trip and put it together?
We're going to work on that this fall. So
So more.
basically, kind of like HSIP, you're going to get it at 80/20, and then when it's approved, then we can get those other funds for you. So I would just plan on giving you that amount of money, and then we can give you more money after that. Or we could just I can't fudge the numbers, but we'll just give you the money afterwards.
Yeah.
So basically, it's gonna be a simple, I don't know how long it's gonna be, but we'll include a bunch of projects, and then you can get your extra 3.5%. And the state can get theirs, it'll put ours into the state, and that'll help them.
Well, so are we, it's less applicable for the first, protect NOFA, because will the trip and plan somewhat come from submittals for that and the previous NOFA?
So what we'll probably do is include those projects in there.
Okay.
We only had 2 from group 1.
Yeah, I mean, because the county just got done doing a resiliency plan, more or less. And city, we did a resiliency plan last year. So it's just, how would we go about making sure that projects that meet federal highways requirements are included in that?
Just give me that list.
Okay.
And we'll put it in there. We'll probably do a little blurb about resiliency and then include a bunch of projects. I haven't fully read, or it's been a while since I fully read what the tripping needs to include.
Is it a long public process, or is it a kind of
This will
taking
probably be
existing
This will
projects
probably
and
be a
programs and-
two meeting process, and then it'll go to the TPC for their approval, just so it gets a rubber stamp on there, and then we can include it. And I want to say
EMPC maybe too?
probably, but I think buses are in there too. Like your bus shelters, and I'm not sure, but I can't imagine Federal Highway would offer this money and not offer FTA, or US DOT wouldn't offer this money, and it would only be for roadways and not for roadways and transit. So there's probably gonna be a transit element in there. Except forgive me, it's been a couple weeks since I saw that since I saw that blurb. So, and I'm not sure if that would entail just like bus stops, getting them out of puddles, or if that works with the vehicles somehow. Additional 23 funds, like I mentioned, we already talked about that. Other new business not discussed earlier. As I started to mention FTA, the state offers a NOFA in the fall for 5310 funds, which I don't think either one of you are eligible for. But in the spring, they offer a NOFA for 5339 funds, which is our buses and bus facilities. And I don't think none of us realized that. So you guys could have been putting in for buses or,
I've done 5339 before, in capital. In the past.
yeah. So, yeah, we didn't know that. NERC didn't know that. So that's something that LaPorte, but we did ask to be put on the notification list. So when that comes through, we'll ask about that. So it's a statewide pool. So I think what they do is it's probably not a whole lot of money for each little area, but you pull it all together, and if you don't need something this year, then someone else can use it.
And it's still an 80-20?
It's still 80-20. Same rules as what you would expect, but if you're yeah.
This
So-
was pre-trams, though, transportation asset plans.
What's that?
When I utilized it, it was before we had to have our TAM plan.
Okay, so for 2018.
Yeah, so it's like, once we plan out and we put in the request, and then it's like, here comes this 5339 funds, and it's like, how do you squeeze it into your plan? Or manipulate your plan and move your money that you've already requested through the tip.
Right.
That's where I found it problematic in applying for the 5339.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, it's something that we just tripped over. And someone, Larry Buckle down in Indianapolis, mentioned it to us. I'm like, really? Didn't know that. Because I just had to ask them why you guys don't get 5310 or 5339 funds. Well, you do. Really?
That's my very first grant, 10 years ago.
So we didn't know that. So, I mean, we're going to look at utilizing that. I don't know any other details other than it's in the spring. And according to Larry Buckle, most people get it with a request.
Charles, if they write it into the TAMs based on the fact that they know that the buses are now more expensive, could that be a way around it? I don't know.
That's a concept.
Because you know how much you have.
They have
and
doubled the cost, what we put
Right,
in, and it's
right.
like the vehicles now,
So in
almost
the,
double the cost.
so in the NOFA, you could be doing one thing, and on this, you could be coming in saying, we need the supplemental money to cover the rest that we know we don't have with other funding. I don't know. I'm not sure if that can be done, but it sounds like it could be a
Well,
backup. Maybe.
yeah, I mean, we would just be, because we flex the highway funds.
And then so is 5339, yeah.
So when we flex the funds, they come in as 5307. But they can't be used for operating assistance.
Correct.
They have to be used for a project, like a bus, a capital item purchase. You can use it for PM, but you can't use it for operating assistance. So. Now, Mitch had mentioned requesting additional funds, if available, for,
Comprehensive plan update for the county.
yeah. And he's thinking it's gonna be 120.
Yeah.
That's a new project that we would have to talk about. So I guess if we talked about that, we would also need to talk about any other new projects. So,
Unless we would be able to, unless you'd somehow be able to include that in your Protect NOFA. I know it's not for Protect funds, but just so that it goes through the process.
we could. Yeah, I mean, these would be for Protect
I mean,
funds, so.
if you feel like we have the authority as a group to vote to, add projects outside of a NOFA, I'm fine with that. But I know that becomes a really sticky situation when you head west.
Yes, it does. And so that reason we don't allow that in group one.
Yeah.
Because that just is, but as we know, over here in LaPorte, the rules are a little bit more lax because everybody does work together. There's only 3 of you. 5 if you count the transit. So we could look at that.
Because the Pines doesn't know.
Kingsbury could be here too. Actually, yeah, they are part of the UZA.
Kingsbury?
Yep,
Really?
a little section is.
I didn't see it on the map yesterday.
Yeah, it was way down there on the south
I
side.
didn't pay attention. Westville.
Westville's no. That would be group
No,
3.
3.
But Pines could be coming to this table. They have a vote.
I shouldn't have said anything.
Sorry, guys. Maybe they're not watching.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, If we have this money and we don't know where it would go, obviously I'd want to put the money, I feel we should put the money towards an existing project before we introduce new projects. Before we introduce more stress on the system if we did a project with CN, DE and CN. Obviously, flexing the money to transit to pay for a bus or towards a project in your bus barn, I think is different. It's kind of like the comp plan
That's just PE, yeah.
is different than a construction project. So, if that's what we wish to do, then that's what we wish. I'm okay with that.
What was that again? What did you say? What did you ask him?
if
Can
we-
you do a special NOFA?
The special note.
Yeah. So.
Project must be comprehensive plan for LaPorte County. Score 100%.
We
Well,
would, I
If he
mean,
doesn't, if he could do it, what you kind of say you could do it outside of NOFA, if it was just something like a planning, or there's no construction or inspection too. And if you get these extra funds that you didn't even know about till last week, it's kind of hard to go through a whole NOFA process.
Yeah.
That's how I
Right.
look at it.
right. And these are 24,
If it's
Other-
24s too.
they're either 23 funds or NDOT may convert them into 24
Yeah.
funds.
Okay. So we'll be in contact on that, you know.
So, I would say, let me know. Let me know about your needs.
Alright.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I would mention is, I'll have to check, but our local tracks project, I think it's a combination of, I think they are using federal funds on it. We aren't, but I think they may be. And so it has a DES number, it's in the urbanized area.
I don't know if I can do that. That would be,
I just wanted to mention it to kind of, for you to not commit, just think about, like, if we do have extra funds, that may be.
that would be a question for Jason Holder. Jason Holder?
Yeah.
You can ask him that.
Okay.
Obviously, it can't be more than
20%, we're
I know, I'm
slated
just
to be
saying.
well over that, so.
So, yeah, that's a Jason Holder question. I'm not sure if that's allowed.
Okay.
So. Any other new business?
At the last meeting, I mentioned we were about ready to start a charrette process with Notre Dame School of Architecture and Engineering, focused on housing initiatives in really the downtown LaPorte. It's a really, really exciting process. I think it was very interesting. Transportation-wise, everything we talk about has a component of truck traffic and highway traffic on Lincoln Way. And some of the concepts that they are proposing include nearer term solutions other than just the north-south corridor. North-south corridor being key long-term solution, but also looking at improvements to Washington Street and possibly either Brighton or an adjacent railroad corridor to have an alternative to Lincoln Way that would be focused on truck traffic specifically. So we're working with some consultants and Notre Dame to continue that discussion, and it may end up turning into a project. This concept will probably factor a lot into our comprehensive transportation plan, the transportation portion of our comprehensive plan. So, just thought I'd mention that.
Okay. One other new business that I forgot to mention. I need to open up my spreadsheet. At the last TPC meet, at the last NOFA, LaPorte submitted 2 projects for new roads. And they both scored not very well. One was a 38 and the other one was a 25 out of 100. We do have funds in 2028 that are available. So I did not program those funds because those 2 projects didn't score that well. But it is up to T-Rock to determine whether or not we want either one of those or those projects to move forward.
And so we put these applications in because they were projects that showed up in our recent planning studies.
Mhm.
But they weren't projects that, we don't have an updated comp plan, we haven't done the analysis that would help them score much better. So there were a lot of points where we just didn't even try, more or less because we knew that we didn't have all the information necessary to get the score that the projects probably deserve.
So one was Lake Street Extension. Go ahead and talk about that one.
Lake Street Extension's really important to us because we don't have an east-west route north of Norfolk Southern and adjacent to our downtown currently. Filling this gap and the combination of this and our local tracks project, we'll have an east-west route that does not require an at-grade crossing north of Norfolk Southern from almost the east side of the city to almost the west side of the city. So via Lake Street, and then it curves around and becomes First. That's a really key corridor for us that with the issues we continually have with Norfolk Southern, it provides that resiliency in our network that we desperately need. And then Polk Street's similar in that it's kind of another step north, but provides the relief between, it takes traffic off of Truesdale, which is a park road, and moves it to an area that can handle some more traffic, and is a connector between McClung Road and Pine Lake Ave, which are really kind of key corridors within the city as well. So those were the 2 projects that have been kind of on the city's radar for really decades, but we just finally got them into a plan that was accepted by the council and thought it'd be time to start putting them in for funds.
And the reason, like I said, I mentioned I didn't program them. The Lake Street one we could afford, it scored higher. But like I said, it was a 38 out of 100, so it didn't score that well. But if this group wants one of those projects to fund it, because we could fund it in 28, I'm leaving that up to this group to decide.
And I think there's a lot going on, so maybe if anybody's interested in kind of seeing the application and seeing the project in a little more detail, maybe I can share that with people, and then we could
At the next meeting?
do something at the next meeting, October 31st.
So we'll defer that question.
How much money you have, Charles?
Not enough for your bridge, Mitch.
No.
We have 1.6 available in 2028.
Where's your Lake Street one on here? Am I missing it?
It's not on the
It's
list.
not on there.
Not on this. Thought it might have been.
So that's something we can keep in mind. We'll talk about it. The other one is a lot more money. It's 2.8. And that's in, let's see.
2.8.
Gonna be a little lean on projects, so getting things started with design and right of way would be helpful on these, but
Right.
they're both in TIFs, they're both in, so there is the potential later to fund them at more than the 20% if necessary. But so I think I kind of mentioned that, but we didn't really push for it either. So
Right.
So I think, if people have questions, I can answer them, and then I
So-
can get some more details.
Okay,
and
so we'll
look at-
defer this question until the next or to the next, T-Rock meeting.
I can help you out.
And, because they did submit it, like I said, I myself had heartburn because it was low scoring, but it's not my decision. So I'm not going to hold that back, and we should have discussed it. My apologies. Should have discussed it, previously, but we didn't. So we'll
The
defer that.
2.8, you mentioned that's in 29,
28,
28.
talking about 2028. So that's when the construction year would be.
Yeah.
So,
So the McClung Road, does that tie into the Chessie extension at all? I know we talked about that
So Polk
intersection.
Street would cross the Chessie, and then Lake Street would offer an additional local connection, not necessarily trail, but would offer between where Chessie heads this way and Clear Lake.
I'm just thinking like tying these two projects in together, it's to Michigan City's advantage to Chessie, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We don't
Oh,
have
not
something
three.
higher priority.
Not 3. It really wouldn't have much impact on Chessie 3.
like the way you're thinking. So anyway, Nick will bring some information on that.
You'll send that out
Yep.
ahead of time?
Yep.
Just I'd like Skylar to take a look at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Skylar.
Skylar, who,
He's in Indy today.
so,
He got a pass, but his assistant was supposed to be here.
so. Any other discussions?
Next meeting is, October.
October 31st.
You bring candy again?
We can bring candy. Don't bring any masks.
Somebody brought candy.
So,
Yeah.
That's what I remember about the meeting.
yeah, so we're going to entice everybody to come next year by bringing Halloween candy. Yes.
Make a motion, adjourn.
I'll say.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Thank you.
I'll be in touch.